to be on my show. You don't have to be a star, baby, to be on my show. Yeah. Listen, good evening to you and yours, and welcome to Brown on Cleveland inside the Little Hut podcast. All talk, no gossip, and maybe just a little bit of drama. Sunday evening, 10 p.m., a special broadcast regarding election 2024. And of course, I got a good friend hanging out with me, and her name is Frederica Gates Mays. I think I got that right. Because sometimes I mess it up. That's what happens when people got too many darn names. But listen, before we go on, as always, I got to send a shout out to my number one sponsor. And of course, that's Aletha Johnson of Dream Team Realty. Now, if you're looking for a single home, commercial property, or new development, please reach out to Aletha Johnson. Why? Because she's my favorite realtor, and her number is 216 375 3681. 216 375 3681. And her name is Aletha Johnson of Dream Team Realty. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So listen, tonight is a special broadcast. The reason why I have Frederica hanging out with me tonight is because I want to talk about election 2024. How you doing, Frederica?
I am good. I am good. I'm glad you ain't got to be no star because I'm not a star, but I'm glad to be here.
But listen, you don't have to be a star to be on this show, but you got to be bold.
Okay, well that you got. That you got.
Amen. So listen, how you been?
I have been good. I have been good. Just hmm, it's election season and
Okay.
it's been a roller coaster. Let's say that it's been some seismic shifts this year, so it's been
Okay.
interesting to
It's
say
been
the
some,
least.
well, actually, just been some downright shiggity boo. That's all I'm going to say. So listen, real quick, because we only got 30 minutes to talk about what we want to talk about. And we want to talk about election 2024. And there are three races that I got my eyes on. My eyes is on a prize, or maybe not. Maybe not. But the first race I want to talk about, well, number one, before we would talk about that, let me ask you this. Every time I see you, and the first time I met you, you always talked about the importance of voting. Why is that? Let's start there.
uh the importance of voting.
Yes.
The reason for me that it sits with me, one, just for me personally, I understand the shoulders of which I stand.
Okay.
um and then just understanding that voting is not the end all and be all, but it's a necessary ingredient for us to achieve the society and justice that we want. So I look at it like baking a cake, and you keep leaving out certain ingredients and wondering why your
Mhm.
cake don't turn out right. And I think voting is that ingredient for the community that I grew up in and the community that I serve. They seem to think this is an ingredient you can leave out or substitute, but then complain about why they cake ain't rising. So I
Okay.
think it controls so many aspects of our life, and people focus a lot on presidential, but it's so many other things in between that impact us, and elections that impact us that we kind of miss the boat on. And then we wonder why things change and why things don't go our way or why this is a certain way. Is all through some type of political process. So whether if you're a business owner or whatever the case may be, if you need a permit, it's all politics. So I just think it's important. I think it's ingrained in me. It's some guy placed in me that I couldn't shake. So that's me in a nutshell. I just feel like the accountability part is lacking. The
Mhm.
accountability part on both ends, from the elected officials to the public. I think
Okay.
there's no accountability.
Okay. That's fair there. So that's very fair. So I want to talk about three races that I have my eyes on, and hopefully other people do too. The first race I want to talk about is the Ohio House Seat 20. Ohio House Seat 20. Here you have a guy named Terrance UpChurch. He is the incumbent. He's a Democrat. His challenger is activist Donna Walker Brown. Donna Walker Brown. Do you have any opinions on this race? Brown
I,
of Cleveland.
my opinion on this race, on any race, is
No, no,
one.
no. This race. This
This
race.
race,
This
this
race.
race in
Yes.
particular, I would say, because I don't think most people even know what their state rep is supposed to do.
Hmm.
That is not on most people's radar at all. I don't think it's on most
Okay.
people's radar at all. And even for myself, is not necessarily on my radar. So the reason, even me knowing about the person running against Terrance UpChurch, that's because you told me. So I'm not gonna sit up there and tell people,
Okay.
like, people, if you know me, you know I love politics, but if I'm gonna tell you that I know every in and out of it, no. But so for this particular race, I haven't watched it that closely. And then when I tried to find just information out there about um Donna, because I don't know her at all. I just wanted to try to figure out some of the stuff she's been doing and her views, and her views on certain things, because she's unknown to me. Like, everybody want to know more about Kamala. I don't know enough about her to be objective, to give a true opinion, but I would have some questions for her. Not just because she's running as a Republican, because I feel like I lean Democratic, but I'm an independent thinker. So I would have to ask her some questions on running under the umbrella of a party that's intentionally stripping away rights. So I would have questions on that, of you running under the umbrella of a party that is systematically taking away rights. So I would have some questions on, you go down to the state, what you gonna do down there that ain't been done? What you gonna do with this party that has a super majority, that you gonna shake it up and make it any different than what's been going on? So
Okay.
that
Well, let me take a pause right there.
okay.
So I appreciate that, but I must say this about Donna Walker Brown. Donna Walker Brown is considered to be the civil rights drum major of Cuyahoga County. And Kevin Conwell coined that phrase for her. And the reason being is because her activism alone has showed people how she can handle situations on a local level, from fighting the Anaya Garrett case, right? When she actually barged into the office of Armand Buddhist to make sure that that family get justice. The way she strong armed the Department of Children and Family Services. I mean, this woman has a wealth of knowledge of turning wrongs into a right on the ground. And one thing I will say about some elected officials, and the reason why we see a lot of them failing, is because they never been an activist, or they never been a social worker. So here you have a guy called Terrance UpChurch. Yes, he's been in the seat, but my question would be this: what has he done for Ohio House District 20 besides walk around talking about he's in a certain fraternity? I don't give a crap about that. Because at the end of the day, the question becomes, Freddie, are the people receiving their quality of life that they so deserve? Are the people being represented? Is he visible in the community when he's not in Columbus? And I must say, no, he's not at all. I'm still trying to figure out what he's done on a community level. People want to tell me stuff he's doing downstate. I'm sorry, I haven't seen anything where it warrants people shaking their pom poms for this guy. So on this race here, I will tell people do their homework on both individuals, right? And if your life has not improved, then of course you know what you got to do. Sometimes, like you said, you got to add some ingredients if that cake is flat. You got to figure out how do you turn that flat cake into a puffy, fluffy cake where people are going to enjoy it. At the end of the day, these are our lives, and we got to hold everybody accountable. Yeah, Sherry Pub. Yeah, here, damn. But I ain't shaking my pom poms for nobody, because when I look outside of my community and Cuyahoga County is basically dim county, you got to ask yourself, are you happy? And I'm an independent. So I can go either way. My ballot looks crazy. I don't believe in the slave card. I mean, slate card. I don't believe in that card. I believe that God gave us the ability to think. He gave us a brain, and we got to learn how to do our own research. But that's just the Ohio House District 20 race. I know it's going to be a hot race, and a lot of people are talking about it. Oh, let me add this. If you go in that district, I'm sorry. The only campaign signs you see is from Donna Walker Brown. So, in my opinion, I could be wrong. I think Terrance UpChurch, he may be one of those elected officials who take a race for granted. And if that's his mentality, I want to see people in the Ohio House district send Terrance UpChurch packing. Yes, Kimberly Brown said it. Brown on Cleveland.
He said it.
Let's go to the 11th Congressional District. Darn right.
Okay.
Now, this is our Congresswoman race, right?
Mhm.
Shontel M. Brown.
Okay.
And she's being challenged by an old guy. No pun intended. He used to be the mayor, I think, of University Heights, and he's also an attorney. His name is Alan RaPaPort. Your thoughts, Brown on Cleveland?
So for the 11th Congressional District, this is my opinion as a Clevelander, as a voter. For the 11th Congressional District, for my entire life, it was Stokes, Tubbs, Fudge, and Brown. And whomever this other gentleman is, I just don't think he has a chance. So I just don't think he's a threat to Shontel Brown at all. I just don't think I just don't he's not a threat. I mean, I think Shontel can rest easy, surrender, wait on the flag, unseat somebody in that seat. Hey, I don't know what you're gonna have to do, but I don't even know the brother. Is he a brother? I don't know who he is. I don't even know who he is.
No, he's not a brother. He's an older Caucasian guy, so he's not a brother. But my only thing is this. Here's the problem I have with Mr. RaPaPort. I don't know the cat, but he was invited to come inside the little hut to share his platform, right? And listen, he ran.
If he's scared to come
Listen.
talk to you, I can't trust him to fight for me down in Washington, because they rough and tough down there. So if you can't come on Kim Brown and do the little hut, bruh, I'm gonna call him bruh, but you ain't getting this seat. Period. You ain't. Do you understand this district? Because I don't think you do. So.
And I wanted to be, I really wanted to be so fair because he's my Facebook friend. I let him, become my Facebook friend. And every once in a while, I would get some messages from him. And on some of his posts, he's trying to drag Congresswoman Shontel Brown on social media. And I take issue with that. And I have discussed this with numerous people, and they have said this. They said, whatever he puts on social media, he should be able to be bold enough to come inside the little hut and repeat what he put on social media. But more so, he's supposed to be able to explain his position. Now, one thing I will say about, get down Shontel Brown, one thing I can say about her, she's come to the little hut. She's been on WOVU with me, and Shontel does not get any passes with me at all. I appreciate the fact that she's bold enough to come, and she'll be whoever she is. Is she perfect? Absolutely not. But one thing she has done that people cannot deny is, number one, she's been very visible in the 11th Congressional District, number one. Number two, she holds a lot of forums regarding the needs of the community. And number three, she's brought millions and millions of dollars back home to the 11th Congressional District. So that race right there, Frederica, I have to agree with you. I don't even know why he in this race. I don't.
Hands down. And perfection is never needed. Perfection is not needed. There's no perfect anybody. So I don't look for perfection. She doesn't have to be perfect. But like you say, if you're doing the work, you bring the money back home. And personally, she's receptive to, even when, like, I do stuff, and I'm passionate about people voting. We've reached out to her in regards to what we do with karaoke and conversations, and she's supportive of that, which is an initiative that we focus on with civic education. So,
Yes.
with that race, yeah, he needs to just, I don't know, he need to go on and have a seat. Because where are you at? If you trying to win this seat, I ain't never heard you. You ain't came and talked to nobody. You ain't came in the communities and I work. So, bruh, and he ain't no bruh, sir, whatever you. And you old, so and I'm not.
Now listen, don't go Joe Biden on us.
Listen, listen. You asked me on here, so I think and I believe there should be term and age limits on all offices held. And sometimes your time has passed and you need to move on and let this new energy and this new blood come in here and shake some things up. Because I'm of a mindset, shake it up, turn the table over, flip it up, shake it up. Like, go big or go home. That's just me.
Historically speaking, Woodrow Wilson said it way back in the day, way before you and I was ever thought about. He said that elected officials should be term limited. He said it doesn't matter what the position is, they should only be allowed to serve 2 terms. You know why? Because when they serve more than 2 terms, they become complacent. They become lazy. They take our quality of life for granted. And the only way we can stop that and move forward is that you always have fresh ideas coming behind old ideas in order to push the apple cart forward. But that's your opinion on the 11th Congressional District. We share the same opinion. I don't mind letting people know I am down with my Congresswoman, Shontel Brown. Show enough. Show enough. Show enough. Bring it home, little Brown. Bring it home. All right. Yes. Here's the big one. Here's the big one.
Here we go. Here we go. Come on.
Let's talk about this presidential election. Here we got Donald Trump, right? And Kamala Harris. Now, you say what? Where are you standing with this? Go on, tell me.
All right, so
go ahead. Yeah, Kamala, and you know what?
What? Come on, you got give me something.
I had a dream. I had a dream. Not like Martin Luther King going to the mountaintop, but I had a dream. I had a dream that Trump and Kamala was on the same ticket, and that was scary. But go ahead.
Oh my God. Ooh, you gotta be a bootlicker to be on his ticket for one.
That was a nightmare. Go ahead.
He's a narcissist, so you can't be on this ticket unless you're gonna completely kiss his butt.
You say what?
God, okay.
We got 12 minutes. Come on.
Okay,
we gotta go.
Donald Trump. This is these are my opinions, not the opinions of the Hut or this full disclosure.
Brown on Cleveland.
Woo! So, me personally,
okay,
I never thought he was qualified the first run. Let me put that out there right now. I never thought he was qualified the first time around. I think he's a lazy-minded man. Not because he's lazy-minded. When you gotta give somebody charts versus the verbiage, that's lazy-minded. That's a problem for me. And then, oh my goodness, I never thought he was qualified the first time. So this go round after Kamala took over, after Joe Biden decided to step down. Go ahead. Correct.
Okay, now, see, this is where you and we're going to differ. Joe Biden did not decide to step down. Joe Biden, in my opinion, and this is Brown on Cleveland, inside the little hut where it gets a little hot, he was forced out.
He should have been. How about that?
He was forced out of the race.
He should have been.
Okay, but he was forced out. Number one.
I ain't gonna say he decided.
Okay, so go ahead.
Okay,
when the Dems backstabbed him, but go ahead.
He was forced out, and that goes back to you need to know when it's time to walk away. That goes back to term limits and age limits. For a job of the presidency that requires your mental capacity and you're a senior citizen now, I don't think he's stupid. I don't. But I think as you age, you slow down. And for the level of things that go on that we're running this country or managing this country, I think it was time for him to step down.
Let me ask
So
you this.
go
Let
ahead.
me ask you this. Do you think if there would have been a Democrat, a Democratic primary, do you think that Kamala Harris would have won that primary? Brown on Cleveland. I'm just asking.
If there was a primary,
Because she didn't go through a primary.
she didn't.
So some people are saying that this election is already fraudulent because she didn't go through the proper procedures. I'm just saying, Brown on Cleveland.
She didn't go through the proper procedures, but you got another party that's so scared to even challenge the other person. They ain't nobody go up against that.
Okay.
And why is that? Why are you so spineless that you are afraid to challenge this buffoonery that's before y'all? That you've allowed this man to come in and completely carve out y'all, gut your party and make it his.
So like a
So,
whale.
so to say, well, they did that, like, I think there's issues on both ends of it.
I agree.
I think there's issues on both ends of it. And my thing, and this is when the decision came down and forced out or whatever the situation may
Okay.
be, that he said, I'm not going to run and I'm going to give it and I'm endorsing her. To me, that was the boldest thing the Democrats have did in a long time, because they act so scary and to stand up to issues when you say you're supposed to be fighting for the people and you the party of the people, but you cower to just the foolishness that's going on. So when that decision came down, or however it was,
Mm-hmm.
I cheered it on, because I was going to vote for Joe Biden. He could have been had full-blown dementia, been in a nursing home, one foot in the grave. There's no way I can vote for a person like
Let
no
me
longer.
ask you this.
Go ahead.
What about inflation?
Inflation. So
People can't even afford eggs right now. They can't even afford gas right now. Everything is extremely high.
why is it high?
You
Why
tell
is it
me.
high? After, so if we're gonna be looking
I'm
at,
just asking a question.
okay, you asked the question. We
We
only got
only
a
got
few
8
minutes.
minutes. We only got
So
8 minutes.
the president doesn't necessarily control inflation
Oh,
necessarily,
no?
but we had COVID. We had a situation that was completely mishandled. You had a president that was handed a good economy and wasted that good economy, and then walk away like, hey, I ain't know nothing. I done gave y'all these tax breaks and all this and that. So, and when you have corporations that brag about making record profits,
Mm-hmm.
where that's not controlled by the president. These, when people are angry about prices and things of that nature, you don't look to the companies that raise these prices, that control the prices. You looking at the president. And again, I think that goes back to the dumbing down of America. Like when politicians say, the American voter is not stupid. I don't believe that. Yes, they are. And they can feel any.
Well, well,
Okay.
well,
Okay.
well. I
You may
think
not
that
be, but that what?
well, I'm by far not
I
part
know.
of that particular party at all. I mean that part, that club, that culture. That's not a Kimberly Brown, period. Anybody who knows that to be true. But I'm going to agree with you where some elected officials think that the American public is just plain dumb. And that's evident by the slate cards that they send out and they tell you to vote right down the ticket. Now, I don't know what dumb dumbs came up with that methodology because if you're just telling people to vote down a ticket, you're basically telling them that they don't have a right to vote. In other words, they don't have a right to choose because regardless of who you vote for, you're supposed to be able to do your own thinking thought process. You're supposed to be able to do your own research. And when people are able to inadvertently take your thinking ways away from you, it's the mind of slavery. And I ain't never met a free slave. Never, never, never. So it always bothers me how elected officials, how political parties see the American people. You don't give them a slate card. You just give them information and allow them to make the decisions for themselves. That's called independence. That's called a voter who can think and who can research and who can make the best decisions for his or her families. Because even on a local level, and I'm going to be quiet about this, we got people in seats who shouldn't be. We have people who have felonies, not just on the bench, but who are part of our city council. So we got some of the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst people making decisions for us. And that's an issue that a lot of Americans have with Mr. Trump. They don't want somebody with all those felonies. But yet and still, here's my question. You don't want him with felonies, but you will take a council person with felonies. You will take a judge with felonies. To me, Freddie, there's no difference. You say what? Brown on Cleveland.
I absolutely agree with that. I mean, the same standard should be applied across the board. If you don't want a felon on this end, it shouldn't be a felon on that end. But we live in a society where everybody wants instant gratification. I call it microwave America. You want everything fast and quick. You don't want to think. You just want to read the blurb. You don't want to do no deep diving. And 10, I love when people say, do your research. People are so lazy minded. Just like, I think that's why they like Donald Trump, because they can relate to the laziness of not wanting to do their due diligence and just go off of sound bites. So yeah, I don't agree. I agree across the board. I'm of a mindset, if the buffoonery, and if we had somebody on an independent ticket, a Democratic ticket, that had the character flaws, not even just the character flaws, just the whole, the just completely unqualified to be the leader of this country, I can't vote for you. And I can't put party over people because, and our governor, come on. What? I don't care because you said they shouldn't come to Springfield, but you can't call it out. You gonna say, well, I'm a Republican and I'm a vote for the Republican. I thought you was an American first. You should be looking, because your whole state ain't Republican. So you ain't got enough balls to say to Trump or JD Vance. Come on. So
well, we won't even talk about JD Vance, because that's just dumb all by himself. So that's a whole nother issue, and I can't wait to watch that debate on October 1st. But listen, we got 90 seconds. We got to wrap it up. Election 2024, hanging out with Frederica. I'm going to mess up her last name, so I'm going to leave that alone. Let's wrap this thing up. You say what, so we can go ahead and get out the hut, because the hut is hot.
And again, I'm going to go back to how I started the conversation. When you think about voting and you think about your community, think about the ingredients that is required to make your community better. If it's from food and environmental hazards to whatever the case may be, all these injustices, you can't fix any of it by just sitting on the sidelines complaining and thinking you don't need to vote. If you don't vote, then don't complain. Don't sit up there and talk about why your community look like this and it look like that on Detroit. Don't say nothing, because guess what? They engaged and they vote. And when elected officials, it's a data-driven game. They looking at numbers. So if you only putting out 1,200 people per election and they pulling out 10,000, that 10,000 voting community gonna get the resources that yours so desperately need. So
there you have it. Again, my name is Kimberly Brown. You've been inside the Little Hut podcast. Just say Kimmy and Freddie. I'm going to leave it right there. So you guys know how I close every single week. Listen, I know that you don't like me, and that's okay, because 9 times out of 10, I don't like you either. But if you need me, call me. But you better not talk about me, because you know I will come on attack and I will get you back. So always remember, you don't have to be a star, baby, to be on my show. You don't have to be a star, baby, but you better be bold. See you later, Freddie.
All right.
Exactly. It'll hurt.